Look, I've watched a lot of content lately about how AI is going to replace jobs, replace roles, and replace careers. And most of it is aimed at employees, right? The people trying to survive this shift. But there's very few making the video for the person who owns the company because the stakes are completely different here. It's not about your job. It's about whether the people you've built a team around are going to be more effective or become the ceiling you can't break through. So here in this video, I want to walk you through the 6 AI skills that I think every business owner needs to actually develop right now. Not to cut headcount, but to raise the ceiling on what your people can actually do. And I've tested all of this inside of my own business and inside of the businesses that I work with. So this isn't just theory. Let's get into it. So here's what you're going to get out of the next 10 minutes together. A clear framework, 6 skills in order that you can start acting on this week. Not tools, not platforms, skills. The tools change every few months. The skills can compound for years. Let's go. Skill 1 is becoming the AI operator. And I know that sounds obvious, but I want to be specific about what that actually means for an owner. There's a version of this that's just using AI tools. You've got Copilot inside of Microsoft. You've got Gemini inside of Google Workspace. There's an AI baked into pretty much everything now. That's just the table stakes. The operator version is a little bit different. It means you understand the logic. You've run experiments. You know what AI can do, what it can't do, where it falls short, and where it buys you the most leverage. Why does that matter specifically for you as the owner? Because your team is watching. If you can sit down with a team member and say, here's what this can do. Here's how I've used it. Here's what I would try. That's not just helpful. That becomes the standard. That becomes the culture that you're building within the business. And if you can't do that, if you're waiting on someone else in your organization to figure it out and bring it back to you, you've handed off one of the most important competitive decisions your business is going to make in the next 3 years. So practically, pick one tool and go deep with it. For me, that was Claude. Not because it's the only tool, it's not, but because I've built real things with it. Reports, analysis, analyzing workflows, sales tools. And that depth is what's let me get into a process of teaching it. You don't need to be the best AI builder in the world. You just need to be the most knowledgeable person in your business. That's the bar. And right now, that's not as high as you think it might be. Which brings us now to skill number 2. Skill 2 is taste and judgment. And this one is actually a bit of a warning. Here's what happens when people first start using AI. They review everything, right? They read every word, check every fact, because frankly, we know that it can make some mistakes. Then the output starts getting better and the reviewing gets more casual. And then one day, something goes out with your name on it that you didn't actually read. And it's either embarrassingly generic or just slightly off. And the people who know can tell immediately. So if I'm honest, I've seen this happen at the team level more than at the owner level. So this looks like a team member fires off an AI-generated email to a client, and it sounds more like a template. Or a proposal goes out, and the voice is completely wrong. It doesn't sound like our team or our organization. And the client notices, even if they don't say it. Your name is on everything that your business produces. That doesn't change just because AI wrote the first draft. So the skill here is developing the eye, knowing the difference between this is good and this sounds like us. Catch anything that's technically correct, but would make a longtime client raise an eyebrow. And then, this is the part that matters most, feeding that judgment back into the system. Every correction that you make should become an instruction, not just, I fixed it this time, but here's why I changed it so that we don't have to fix it next time. And newsflash, this is the same way that you would train a team member. That feedback loop is how you get AI that actually sounds like your business without you having to do editing forever. So here's skill 3. Skill 3 is the one that I'd argue is the highest leverage for a business owner specifically. It's called context engineering. You might have heard the term prompt engineering. That was a big thing a couple years ago. Give the AI a better prompt, get a better answer. Prompts still matter, don't get me wrong, but context is where the real power is. Context is everything your AI actually knows about your business, your processes, your clients, your templates, your data, your voice, how you make decisions. Prompt engineering is how you ask. Context engineering is what your AI actually knows before you ask. Here's why that matters specifically for you. The context about your business is not on the internet. It doesn't exist in any training data. Your SOPs, your client history, your sales call transcripts, your pricing logic, none of that is out there publicly. That context is your most competitive moat. I want to give you a real example from a client of mine. She runs a financial services business, and she has had 3 areas that were eating at her team's time. The first was scope management. Anytime a client sent a new request, her team would spend time going back and forth trying to figure it out. Is this in scope? Do we need to charge for this? What's the answer? Now she had a simple tool, a Claude project with all of her scopes loaded in. And a team member can drop that in the client's request and get back, here's what's in scope, here's what's not, and here's how to communicate it clearly. That's it. One step. No more back and forth in this entire process. The second was process knowledge. She had years of knowledge stuck in her head and scattered across videos, brain dumps, text documents, all across. She centralized all of it into a single notebook LM. Any team member can now ask a question and get an answer formatted to how they actually think. Bullet points if you want bullet points. Full paragraphs if you need the context. Like, this is crazy. It's the same knowledge base, but different output for whoever's asking so they can learn and understand at their level. The third was proposals. Her team was spending hours custom writing proposals from scratch. Now they drop in a sales call transcript and some notes, and they get a proposal back that's 95% correct on the first pass. A few minutes of refinement versus a few hours of construction. All of this, no headcount cut. The same team with a higher ceiling. That's what context engineering does. It's not about the model. It's about how much of your business you've given the model to actually work with. The place to start, stop opening blank chat windows. Open a project, load in your actual context, and start treating your AI like a new hire that needs to be onboarded, not a calculator you punch in answers into. So let's talk about skill number 4. Skill 4 is iteration speed. And this one is about how fast you actually move once you've built something. I see this all the time. Owners or their teams build an AI workflow. It works okay on the first pass, and they ship it. And then they never look at it again. Or maybe they look at it 6 months later when something starts to kind of deteriorate or break down. The owners who are winning with AI right now are not building perfect systems. They're building rough systems fast, seeing what breaks and fixing it over and over and over again. Every iteration is more data. Every iteration closes the gap between what the AI does and what your business actually needs. Here's the practical version of this. When you build a tool, a report, a proposal generator, a scope analyzer, anything, define what done looks like before you start it. Not, I'll know it when I see it. One specific metric, one outcome. If it's a reporting tool, does it cut the time to pull the report by X percentage? If it's a sales tool, does it reduce the prep time and improve the quality of the first conversation? Give it a number. Build it until you hit it. Then put it in maintenance mode and move on to the next thing. Without that, you'll scope creep yourself into building forever and shipping nothing. Skill 5 is one of the things I talk about the most in my work with business owners, and it connects directly to AI. The highest value version of AI in any business isn't the tool that you use. It's a system that runs when you're not there. Think about what that means practically. If every AI workflow in your business requires a human to trigger it, it is still dependent on that human showing up, having bandwidth, remembering to do it, all of it. It's an upgrade, but it's not fully infrastructure. Real infrastructure fires on its own. A lead comes in, something happens, right? An end of week report is ready in the folder on Friday morning without anyone having to pull it. A scope question gets answered without the question ever hitting your inbox. So I want to share something from my own business here. We used to have a team member spend a full day, sometimes more, aggregating data, pulling numbers, formatting reports. It was the kind of work that nobody really loved doing, and the person doing it wasn't getting to do what they were actually good at. Now, that same process today runs almost automatically. Data flows from the CRM, the accounting system, all into a skill that we built. The team member fires the prompt, the report comes back. What changed wasn't headcount. What has changed was the person's job. They went from data aggregation to data analysis, from let me pull this stuff together to here's the 3 red flags that I think we need to talk about this next week. That's a real upgrade. Not the report, but the role. Now, one more important warning here. The second you remove yourself or a person from a process, the risk goes up. Errors don't get caught before they hit a client. Data gets pulled from the wrong place. Something fires into the wrong list. So here's the rule. Default to the simplest version that does the job. Don't build an AI agent when a simple workflow will do it. If the same input always produces the same output, you don't need AI reasoning. You need a trigger and a connector. Save the AI layer for the places where judgment is actually required. The owners who win aren't building the most complex systems. They're building the most reliable ones. Consistency wins here. So this brings us to skill number 6. Skill 6 is the one that ties everything together. And it's the one that separates people from the experimentation with AI from the people who are actually building something durable. It's building execution infrastructure. So what I mean by this is AI tools are everywhere. Everybody has access to the same models, largely the same platforms. The advantage isn't having access to AI. The advantage is building a layer inside of your business that runs on AI consistently, reliably, documented, that your competitors can't copy in a weekend because it's built on something specific to your context, your specific processes, your specific team. Skills 1 through 5 are all inputs into this. Become the operator, develop the judgment, load the context, iterate fast, build systems that run without triggers. When those 5 skills compound inside a real business over real time, you end up with something that's genuinely hard to replicate. Not because it's complicated. A lot of it is simple, but because it's yours. The context is yours. The process logic is yours. The iteration history is yours. And the last thing that I'd say here, don't build this for yourself and keep it locked away. Bring your team in. The leverage multiplies when the whole team can access the infrastructure, not just the owner. That is when the business starts to look different. So I want to leave you with something that I've been thinking about kind of a bit lately. When we first started building AI into our business, we were doing what most owners do. We found tools with AI in them. We used them to make things a little bit easier. That's fine. It works. It's a great starting point. But the shift that actually changed things was when we stopped using AI and started building with it. When we took the work of our team that they were already doing, the reporting, the call analysis, the data pulls, and we asked a different question. Not, is there an AI version of this tool, but can we make this whole process run better and free our people up to do the work that actually matters? One of our team members used to spend a day pulling reports. Now they spend that same time in analysis. They're asking better questions. They're flagging things before they become problems. Their job is better. The output is better. The business is better. That's what AI is supposed to do. Not replace the people doing good work. Raise the ceiling on what they can do. And if you're building towards that, or if you want to, I'm putting together a framework around this in a book that I'm working on. You can get on the early access list at tannerobrien.com/book. I'll be sharing early chapters and frameworks with that list first. And if you want to go even deeper on any of this, I've got a video walkthrough of how we actually use AI for call analysis, inside our sales process, how I use Claude, and many more. Simply click the videos here at the end of this video. If this was useful, subscribe. I put out content like this every week, operator focused, very little fluff. And as always, let's go build some amazing businesses together.